This broadcast is entirely fictional. All names, characters, locations, and events are products of imagination, created only for storytelling and dramatic effect. Any similarities to real people, places, or situations are purely coincidental. The content is not meant to harm, insult, or single out any person, group, community, or belief. Listener discretion is advised. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I don't know why it's so satisfying to read where people are watching from at 4:33 a.m., but it is. My name doesn't really matter anymore. Maybe it never did. What matters is that you're hearing this, that something inside the wires still carries a voice through the dark. You're tuned to what's left of the radio, broadcasting from a place that barely stands, in a world that barely moves. I don't know how far this signal reaches. I don't know who's out there. But if you're listening, then we're not completely alone. Not yet. It's 3:27 in the afternoon. The outside temperature is 112 degrees and rising. I'm sitting in a windowless room beneath an old postal station just outside what used to be Phoenix. The air is thick, stale, buzzing with heat even this deep underground. Above me, the city is dead quiet. Not silent. Quiet in the way a place gets after the power's been gone too long and people stop bothering to talk. I've hooked this transmitter into a backup diesel generator that I found in the storage cage down here. It's running off siphoned fuel from a school bus that never made it to its last pickup. There's enough power for maybe a few more hours of broadcast, if the engine doesn't overheat first. I'll try to keep this short, but there's no such thing as short anymore. Not when the clocks are lying. Not when satellites aren't watching. Not when your phone is just dead glass in your hand and all the towers are dark skeletons. I don't know if you saw it happen, if you were out there on the road when the light came, or inside, watching your TV go gray like smoke on the screen. I was in line at a gas station south of the city, just trying to cool off with a bottle of water. The radio behind the counter crackled once, then nothing. The cashier tapped at her screen and said the card reader froze. We all laughed, just heat, or some glitch, but it kept going. The coolers started beeping, then the power cut, then the air changed. That was 5 days ago. 5 days since the sky ripped open and the sun gave us too much. No one knew what it was at first. The flash didn't blind us, it fried us. Not our skin, not our bodies, our world. The grid, the satellites, the lines strung between cities, the servers humming under floors we never saw. It all cracked. They say it was a solar flare, not just a flare. A CME, coronal mass ejection. A wave of charged plasma ejected from the sun's surface, hurled straight at Earth. They said it was the biggest one since Carrington, maybe bigger. I had to dig that up in an old science textbook I found at a busted high school. Most people never even heard of Carrington. That was 1859. Telegraph wires melted in the streets. Operators shocked unconscious through their keys. That was before power grids, before microchips. Now, we built everything out of silicon and signal, and now all that's gone. I don't know how bad it is in the East. I haven't heard anything past the Rockies. I don't know if New York is still there, or if anyone's still holding on in the underground networks in Chicago. I tried spinning the dial on the emergency bands all night, but all I got was static, and this weird low hum that I swear isn't just interference. Something's pulsing out there. Maybe a broken military repeater stuck on loop. Maybe worse. Anyway, let me tell you what I've seen. What I know. What others have told me since the lights went out. The first day was confusion. Phones dead. Cars stalled. planes grounded. People said it was a cyber attack, EMP. Some thought it was the Chinese, or AI, or aliens. Doesn't matter. Whatever did this came from the sun, came from above and melted our world from the inside out. Traffic choked every off-ramp in the city. People stood outside their cars, holding their phones up like lighters at a dead concert, hoping for signal. You could feel the fear starting to crack behind their eyes. I saw a man punch the dashboard of his Mercedes until his knuckles bled. I saw a woman dragging her mother in a wheelchair along a 6-lane highway because the van battery was fried and there was nowhere else to go. By nightfall, the city was already a different place. The heat didn't drop. If anything, it got worse. The buildings held onto it, sweating it back into the streets. The air conditioners were gone. The fans were silent. No one had running water. Faucets hissed and died. Toilets backed up. Grocery stores were stripped by morning. On the second day, someone shot up a gas station. I saw the smoke from 2 blocks away. No police, no fire department, just a ring of people watching it burn, all of them holding empty jugs and warm bottles. I met a guy that night. Travis, ex-National Guard, or so he said. He had a busted 2-way radio and a cooler full of medical supplies he looted from a clinic before it was cleared out. He told me the flare had taken out more than just communications. It cooked the grid, the transformers, the substations, the whole interstate relay. He said even if we had power plants working, and that's a big if, they couldn't move the juice. The control systems were all fried. Smart systems, he said. That's the joke. Everything was smart until it wasn't. He also said the feds were trying to mobilize, but that was 3 days ago. I haven't seen a single federal vehicle. No DHS, no FEMA, not even a chopper. Just silence and smoke. This morning, someone left a baby on the church steps down the road. Just left it there. No note, no supplies, just the child, wrapped in a shirt, sweating and crying under the morning sun. Someone carried it inside. I don't know what they'll do. Formula's long gone. So is the ice. The power died, but the sun didn't. It keeps burning, hotter than ever. The roads are soft by noon, the asphalt turning to sludge. You can't touch metal without gloves. Dogs have started dropping in the streets. I saw a man digging through a car trunk with one hand while fanning himself with the other, his lips cracked and white. When I called out to him, he looked up like he didn't recognize language. We're breaking down faster than I thought possible. If you're listening, if this signal is reaching you, I need to know where you are, what it looks like, what's still working if anything. I've got a backup repeater tied to this line. I'll scan the band again at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. If you've got a handheld or anything that still transmits, try to reach me then. Use band 145.23 if you can. Old ham channel. Low interference. I'll stay on for as long as the generator lasts. There's a woman in town, Gloria. She's been boiling rainwater on a wood stove for people who bring her cans. She's got a backyard full of salvaged batteries and old solar panels. Says she used to be a prepper. The crazy kind. Now she's just the reason the kids on her block are still alive. The things that used to make us weird, that's what's keeping people breathing. I'll be back with more if this thing holds. I'm gonna play back a clip from Travis if I can get the cassette hooked up. He recorded it when the military tried to call in a warning the night before the flare. There's something in the signal, something I think was cut from the official feeds. You tell me what you hear. Hold on, stay in the shade, and keep your radios on low. More soon. I'm back. Still here. The generator's running hot and loud, but I've rerouted some of the exhaust through a busted vent shaft. Smells like diesel and burned rubber in here now. I've tied a wet shirt around my face just to keep breathing. If you're just tuning in, this is what's left of a broadcast, a signal hanging by a thread. I'm speaking into an analog rig spliced together with old parts from an AM tower that collapsed back in '43. I don't know how far I reach. Maybe it's just bouncing around the desert. But if it gets to someone, anyone, then I'll keep talking. I'll keep saying the names. Travis is gone. He left yesterday morning to check out a transmission tower up near South Mountain. Said he thought he could reroute some of the residual grid. I tried to talk him out of it. Told him the heat would kill him before he even climbed the hill. But he just smiled and said, if the flare didn't kill us, maybe it's our turn to fix what's left. That was 30 hours ago. No sign of him since. If you're out there, Travis, if you're hearing this, send anything. Morse, clicks, even a mirror. I replayed that cassette he gave me, only once. I don't like how it ends. I'll describe it, since I don't have a good way to rig the line in right now. It's a recording of a military frequency from the night before the flare hit. The timestamp's clear, June 18th, 2069, 2:16 hours. You can hear a male voice, steady, clipped. Sounds like someone who's done this too many times. All units, code Solar Echo. Repeat, Solar Echo. CME trajectory confirmed. Full spectrum interference estimated in 18 hours. Priority reroute of satellites initiated. Civil protocols under review. Blackout models in effect. Then silence. 10 seconds. And then, just barely, you hear someone else, faint, like another line crossed into the channel. It's bigger than Carrington. That's it. No panic. No instructions for the public. No press release. They knew. And they didn't say a damn word. I'm not mad. Not really. Just tired. It's day 6 now. The sky is a bleached yellow-white during the day. No clouds. No birds, not even smoke anymore. It all got burned out. The air is too dry to carry anything but heat. This afternoon, I tried walking up the block to check on the food co-op someone set up near a collapsed bus terminal. There used to be about 30 people there. Now it's closer to 12. 2 of them had to be carried into the shade. Heat stroke. One of them was shaking so bad she bit through her own tongue. No water. No clean ice. We used to think apocalypse meant fire, flood, maybe war. No one talks about what happens when it's just the sun. Just the thing we thought we understood best. Here's what we're learning. Hour by hour. The smart fridges, dead weight. The Teslas and hybrids, paperweights with wheels. Anything that depended on the cloud, gone. All the data, too. Bank servers, school records, medical histories. It's like someone took a blade to memory itself. I met a man yesterday who was walking east with nothing but a shopping cart full of books. Real paper books. Notebooks, mostly. He told me he was a teacher once. History. Said he figured he might still be useful if he carried the past with him. He didn't want to forget. I didn't ask his name, but I wrote down one of his lines on the back of a fuel receipt. Sunlight's the oldest thing we know, but it's still the only thing strong enough to erase everything we've built. If that teacher's listening, I still remember. Earlier today, I managed to tune into something strange. A faint carrier signal. No voice, no ID. Just pulses. 4 short, 2 long, 1 short. Then a pause. Then it repeats. I don't know if it's automated or if someone's trying to reach out. If you've heard this, or if you're sending it, I'm logging it as Signal Echo 1. please send again on 105.7. That's the clearest frequency on this rig. I'll be monitoring between midnight and 2 a.m. Let me tell you about a place I passed through on day 3. Sun Valley, just west of Mesa. Used to be retirement communities, golf carts, palm trees lined up like soldiers. Now, the solar panels are warped, burnt black. Most of the houses look like convection ovens, but some of the old residents didn't leave. I met an old woman named Ruth. 87, hearing aid gone, couldn't walk without a cane. She was sitting under a garden umbrella, fanning herself with a church bulletin. I asked why she stayed. She looked at me and said, "I was born in the heat. I'll die in the heat, but I'll be damned if I go dying in traffic." She had 2 gallons of water stored in an ice chest lined with foil and paper. Claimed it was something her father taught her back in the 50s. She offered me a cup and told me not to take more than I needed. It was the best water I've had in 6 days. That night, I stayed on her porch and listened as the crickets didn't come out. It's so quiet now. Even the insects seem to know something's wrong. I want to say something for the people who are still trying, who haven't turned to looting or running. There are makeshift medical camps popping up in shade tunnels and freeway underpasses. There's a family by the Roosevelt Dam who set up a windmill rig and started giving out clean water to anyone who walks there. It's a 2-day trip on foot from the city edge, but people are making it. Some crawl, some carry others. They're still good. There's still kindness. It's just quieter now. Before I go off air for this cycle, I want to share a call I got yesterday on the old CB line. The man didn't give a name, but he said he was calling from outside El Paso. He said, "The sky burned pink this morning, brighter than usual, and the fields didn't move, not even the dust. I saw people walking along Interstate 10 barefoot. Their shoes melted off. One woman carried a dead dog in a towel, said it was her son's and she didn't want to leave it behind. That's what's left out here. Grief in motion." I don't know who you are, friend, but your words are still traveling. That's what this signal is for. We're still traveling. I'll be back on tomorrow if the generator holds and the heat doesn't cook my lungs. Look for the signal at 145.23 and 105.7. You'll know it's me, because I'll start every cycle the same way. I'll remind you that we're still here. This is the Blackout, and this is what survival sounds like. The generator failed around 2 a.m. last night. I sat in the dark for almost an hour, just listening to it cough and sputter, and then die altogether. There's a silence that comes with it, the kind that wraps around your chest like a belt and doesn't let you breathe right. The absence of noise in a world that used to hum. I spent most of the early morning pulling the backup solar trickle charger out from the crawl space. It's a beat-up array from a scrapyard in Buckeye, cracked in one panel and barely enough juice to run this transmitter for a couple hours each day. But it worked. I'm back. I'm still here. The thermometer inside the studio hit 118 at noon. There's no insulation down here, just concrete and sweat and 100 tiny echoes that bounce off the walls when I move. The water I collected last night from a rigged condensation trap tasted like metal and dust. But it was water. If you're hearing this, that means something out there is still catching signal. That means I'm not just whispering into a dead sky. Maybe someone's sitting under a stairwell in Denver with an old battery-powered radio. Maybe someone's rigged an antenna to a clothesline outside San Diego. I don't care where you are. I just care that you're there. I've started logging the small things now, little routines that help me keep track. Every morning, I walk up the emergency stairs to what's left of the street. I count the broken windows. I listen for movement. Yesterday, I saw a pickup truck rolled over and stripped to the frame. The day before, a kid's bicycle propped up against a burned-out bus, like someone planned to come back for it. No one has. The air out there smells like hot wire and melted paint, the kind of heat that cooks from above and below. You feel it rising from the asphalt like it's angry. There's no wind, no clouds. The world is holding its breath, and I don't know when it'll let go. Someone left a note near the bus station. It was scrawled on cardboard, stuck to a fence with melted tape. It read, "Closed due to sun. Pray for rain." I stood there and stared at it until my knees went weak. Then I walked back down here and turned the radio back on. A few updates for those still mapping out what's happening. Power grids remain completely offline across the Southwest. Reports from old trucker bands say parts of Utah, Colorado, and northern Texas are experiencing the same. Full infrastructure failure. No electricity, no refrigeration, no running water. Temperatures remain above 100 across most of the interior. There are rumors of functioning government outposts in Flagstaff and Santa Fe, but I haven't been able to confirm. The emergency broadcast system is still silent across every band I scan. No FEMA, no DHS, no NOAA alerts. Just blank airwaves and the occasional ghost signal repeating nonsense. I've received 3 confirmed calls through the analog line in the past 24 hours. One came from someone outside Lubbock. He was holed up in a grain silo with 2 generators, a rain catch system, and what he called a library of apocalypse guides. His voice cracked when he mentioned his wife. She'd gone out looking for insulin 4 days ago and hadn't come back. Said she left a note on the floor, said, "Don't wait for me. Just stay cool. Stay alive." I wrote that one down too. It's good advice, even when it's full of pain. Another call came from Las Cruces, a woman with a broken voice and a car battery powering her CB. She said her neighborhood had turned into a heat camp, old neighbors piling into a high school gym with no lights and one working garden hose. She said her son was learning to make shade nets out of plastic wrap and window screens. Said the boy hadn't spoken since the blackout, but he still sang to himself in the dark. You hold on to what you can. A song, a name, a habit. The last call came from a man in Bakersfield. No name, just coordinates and a warning. Said the sun isn't done yet. Said he used to work at a solar observatory before it all went dark. Told me something about the patterns, how the sunspot cycles weren't matching historical norms, how the energy surge might have been the first of several. Said the flare we saw on the 19th might have been the front edge. I asked what that meant. He went quiet. Then he said, "It means this was a warning shot." I'm not a scientist. I don't know how much to trust from someone whose voice shakes with every word, but I believe him. If you're out there and you know something, if you're a physicist or a retired engineer, or even someone who worked at a substation, call in. Leave a message on frequency 92.5 or 105.7. I don't care if you have to tap it in Morse code. Just tell us what you know. Anything is better than silence. People are starting to form survival bands, not militias, not yet, but collectives. Skill-based. If you can purify water or build shade rigs or maintain generators, you're gold. If you've got seeds that don't need cold storage, you're a hero. If you remember how to fix an old windmill or distill alcohol for fuel, you're family now. Digital's dead. Mechanical is king again. A woman I met near Tempe was trading broken hand tools for batteries. She said her grandfather used to repair clocks before smartwatches took over. Now she's the only one in 3 blocks who can build a crank lantern from scratch. People used to laugh at her garage full of junk. Now they wait in line for her to fix a fan. Everything old is new again. That's the lesson in this, I think. We leaned too hard on things that were too thin. Data, streams, invisible threads holding everything up. Now we need the things we can hold. Metal, water, paper, skills. The things that last. This broadcast will cut out in about 20 minutes. That's how long I can run the solar bank today. I'll be back tomorrow around the same time, depending on how clear the skies are. Look for the tone I always use. 3 short bursts, 1 long tone. That's me. If you're hearing this, remember these 3 things. Stay in the shade. Drink slowly and often. Don't wait for the old world to come back. It's not. But that doesn't mean we can't build something better when this all shakes out. Something slower. Something stronger. Until then, I'm still here. And if you are too, good. Because the sun hasn't killed us yet. It's 6:41 p.m. right now. Or at least that's what the old wind-up says. The one I found in a shoe store display, stuck between a melted pair of sneakers and a mannequin half fused to the floor. It ticks loud, reminds me I'm still moving through time, even if everything else has stopped. Temperature in the shelter hit 121 this afternoon. I've stopped checking the outside reading. It doesn't matter anymore. Too hot is too hot. I stick to the shadows when I go out. Short bursts only, long sleeves, 2 bandanas, 1 for the sun, 1 for the dust. I carry water in a jar, duct taped to an old military canteen because the rubber seal split. Nothing stays sealed in this heat. I rigged a second solar panel today. Found it near an abandoned contractor's office. It was bent, mostly useless, but after 2 hours with some foil and wire from a broken wall lamp, it trickles enough current to keep the backup battery from fully draining. It might buy me another hour of air each night. Another 30 minutes of voice. The city is emptying out. I hear fewer voices now, see fewer shadows. Maybe people are heading north or underground, or just not heading anywhere at all anymore. Some of the buildings have started to collapse, not from earthquakes or storms, just from heat. Metal expands, concrete cracks, and old joints fail. I passed a 6-story parking garage with the top level slumped like a bad tooth. A vending machine fell from the 4th floor, shattered on impact, spilling melted plastic and scorched snack bars. No one took them. They looked like poison. I got a shortwave message today, scrawled and raspy, barely audible through the static. A woman calling from outside Reno. Said her name was Jolene. Said she'd been a trucker for 27 years before everything went dark. She's living out of the cab now, parked under an overpass, sharing food with a group of 9. 2 of them are kids. One's a man who used to run a tow yard. He carries a photo of his dogs in his shirt pocket and still tries to feed them from memory. Jolene said they heard a voice on a military band last night, repeating coordinates near the old Hawthorne Depot. Might have been a supply drop. Or bait. No one knows what's real anymore. I asked if she was afraid. She said, "Only when the heat stops hurting. That's when I know I've cooked too deep to feel it anymore." I think about that a lot, about what we stop feeling before we go. There was another message today. This one came from a payphone relay. Yes, those still exist, if you know where to find the battery hubs. A man in Kansas City said his name was David, 58 years old, former HVAC tech. Said he's been spending his nights in the basement of a department store with 15 other people, most of them strangers. They run a crank fan, take turns boiling rainwater, and sleep in shifts. He said his daughter lives in San Antonio, but he hasn't heard from her since the blackout. The last message she sent was a voice clip. "Love you, Dad. Tell the sun to chill out." He plays it every night until the battery dies. David asked me to repeat her name on the air. So here it is. Her name is Wren. If you're listening, Wren, your father's still looking, still holding on. Sometimes it helps just to hear a name, just to say one. This heat, this unrelenting, dry, skin-tightening heat, it's more than weather. It's a kind of silence that eats sound. No birds, no planes, no sirens. Even the dogs are quiet now. You hear footsteps more clearly than ever, and it doesn't always feel good. I've been writing down every person I talk to, every name, every location, every pattern they mention. There's something I need to share. It's not confirmed, but I've heard it from 5 different sources in the last 2 days. They're saying that some government bunkers were sealed before the flare hit. Not just sealed, closed off to any incoming communication. Protocol Lockdown 7. Full isolation. That means if there's a command center still operating, they might not even know how bad it's gotten. They might be sitting underground, thinking this is just a regional disturbance, thinking help is coming, thinking power's about to be restored. It's not. Not soon, anyway. If you know someone with federal access, military history, clearance codes, try to reach them. Find out what's active. I don't care if it's a weather station in Alaska or a NORAD bunker buried in some mountain. If someone's still keeping time, we need to know where the clock is ticking. I'm hearing whispers of a relay tower still active somewhere in Idaho. Unconfirmed. Might be nothing. But if you've got range, point your antennas north. Look for pulses around 31.63 megahertz. That's where the last piggyback call came from. Static's thick, but you can still feel the rhythm if you close your eyes. It's strange. I talk so much now, but I haven't heard my own name spoken in over a week. I think that's why I keep broadcasting. Not for identity, not for ego, just for presence. You lose track of your own sound in this silence. I've started dreaming again. Bad dreams, fast dreams. Last night I saw a skyline melt like plastic, streetlights sagging, children playing in puddles of glass, and above it all, the sun, huge, watching, redder than I've ever seen it, flickering like it was alive. I woke up with heat rash on my ribs and a nosebleed. Couldn't tell what was real for a minute. Sat there, shaking, until the generator kicked. It's happening to other people too. Heat hallucinations, night panic, people hearing voices through fans, people seeing shadows move wrong in the light. This isn't just about systems breaking down. It's about people breaking open. I'll end this transmission with a list of supplies that are still trading strong out here. Salt, rice, coffee grounds, alcohol, drinking, or medical, duct tape, cotton rope, blank paper, batteries of any kind, books on gardening, mechanics, first aid, seeds that grow fast and don't need cold. If you're setting up a trade post, use markers. Red flag for water, white for food, black for medical. Leave notes in foil-wrapped containers. They hold up best in the sun. Tomorrow, I'll share a map of known shade routes through southern Arizona. I've walked half of them myself. The rest came from people I trust. You can survive if you plan, if you ration, if you stay smart. This is the part where I say goodbye. But not forever. Just for now. Check back tomorrow, same hour, same burst code. If If I'm gone, someone else may be here. And if you're not hearing this, maybe someone else is reading it out loud in the dark. Maybe that's enough. Stay cool. Stay awake. Stay human. It's 5:03 p.m. The solar battery gave me just enough juice to get the transmitter online early tonight. I've been watching the light change outside. It's not getting softer. It's just getting slower. Like the sun is hanging longer in the sky, stretching out its punishment. The air smells like burnt metal again. Today's been harder than the others. I think I'm running low on words. I tried walking to the bridge just north of town earlier. Used to be a shortcut over the dry canal, but half of it has buckled from the heat. The rebar snapped and curled like someone twisted it by hand. There's a car hanging off the edge. I didn't look inside. On the way back, I passed a kid, 12, maybe 13, sitting on the curb holding a sign that said, "Not dead." That's all it said. Just 2 words, marker bleeding through the cardboard. I gave him one of my last water packs. He didn't say anything, just nodded, and kept staring at the road, like someone was still coming. I hope he's still there tomorrow, but I don't think he will be. The silence has started to change. It's not just quiet anymore. It's listening. I can't explain it better than that. Maybe it's just in my head. Maybe it's the heat playing tricks. But it feels like something's out there, just beyond the buildings, waiting, not moving, not speaking, just watching us run out of breath. I've heard from 7 different places since yesterday's broadcast. I want to share some of them before the battery cuts. First, a woman named Sophia in Albuquerque said her brother's been running a shortwave check-in circle with a group of old ham operators who call themselves The Loop. They rotate transmissions every night, pinging back and forth between 80 and 160 meters. Most of them are over 60 years old. Retired engineers, pilots, teachers. They're keeping records, logs, temperature spikes, outage maps. She says they think the CME wasn't a single pulse, but a series. That means we might not have seen the worst one yet. Second, a man in Amarillo named Curtis says his sister was part of a FEMA convoy heading west when the blackout hit. She radioed in on a private band. He thinks it was military, saying they were rerouting to a location called Point Meridian. I've never heard of it. Doesn't show on any of the old maps. He thinks it's a continuity of government site. Says they were moving sensitive materials, possibly tech backups, medical data, satellite keys. Then she stopped responding. That was 4 days ago. If anyone out there knows about Point Meridian, what it is, where it is, call in. You could be sitting on a real piece of the puzzle. Third, a teenager named Jacob in Sacramento sent me a voice packet through a jerry-rigged laptop running off car batteries. Says his parents were doctors. Clinic went down day 1. They've been setting up triage under a freeway overpass with whatever gear they could salvage. He says they've got a slow trickle of people coming in every day now. Burns, heat stroke, dehydration, delirium. They've been rehydrating people with salt and sugar water, using IV needles soaked in boiled bleach. He asked me if it was enough. I told him it was better than silence. Jacob, if you're listening, you're doing more good than anyone still sitting on an air-conditioned bunker. You're saving lives. I heard a rumor I can't prove yet. Multiple callers have mentioned it, though. They're saying the flare knocked out more than just the surface systems. They're saying something's happening underground. A woman from Ogden said she saw the mountains shimmer the night after the blast, like the land itself hiccuped. A guy from Las Vegas said the tunnels under the Strip collapsed in places where the ground shouldn't move. Someone in Flagstaff said the mines are shaking, even though there haven't been any tremors recorded. I don't know if it's geological, or if it's connected to whatever power the flare released, but it's worth watching. We've spent too long building over fault lines and forgotten machines. The past might be shifting under us now. Let me read out a list of working frequencies again, in case anyone needs to check for signs of life. 92.5 FM, occasional weather loop from Texas Panhandle. 145.23 MHz, intermittent traffic from Arizona border zones. 31.63 MHz, static pulses every 17 seconds, likely a relay station in Idaho. 118.7 MHz, aircraft band, one confirmed message yesterday repeating, "No tower, visual only." 457.8 kHz, unknown source, repeating tone pattern, possibly coded. If you're broadcasting, use the burst pattern. 3 short, 1 long. That's our handshake now. Every day I've been walking past the same alley on my way to the water drum I buried in the dirt. There's a message written on the wall there. In soot, not paint. Says, "Heat takes faster than fire." I think that might be true. Fire destroys. Heat erases. People don't burn up out here. They vanish. They slow down. They sit still too long and don't get back up. I watched a man drink rainwater from the bend of a gutter today. I didn't stop him. I didn't have anything cleaner to offer. He looked at me like he was proud of himself, like he'd figured out something I hadn't. Maybe he had. Maybe we're all learning how to lower the bar for what counts as survival. Tomorrow, I'll read from an old manual I found. Civil Defense Survival Procedures, printed in 1978. Most of it's outdated, but some of it still makes sense. Building shade shelters, using mirrors to signal aircraft, crude refrigeration tricks. We forgot a lot. We forgot how to live without comfort. Now we're relearning pain. I'm going to end this cycle with a name list. People who've called in, people who are still here. Jolene, Reno. David, Kansas City. Sophia, Albuquerque. Jacob, Sacramento. Curtis, Amarillo. Mira, Los Angeles. Message received, unconfirmed location. Lena, unknown location. Last seen near Las Cruces. Tom, Salt Lake City, electrical engineer. Last heard on 457.8. These names matter. They're the new map. If you know them, if you've seen them, pass it on. Say it out loud. Keep their names moving. That's what this broadcast is. A record. A rope. And maybe, someday, a way home. I couldn't sleep last night. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept hearing the hum. Not the one from the mine shaft story. A different kind. It came through the wires, soft, like breathing from the other side of the signal. I pulled the plug, sat in the dark with a flashlight pressed to my chest, just listening to the silence. It's quieter than ever now. The solar rig only gave me 40% charge this morning. Cloud cover for once, not thick, just thin streaks across the sky like someone scratched the blue with a dirty fingernail. But it made the heat worse, somehow. Kept it from escaping. It was already 98 before sunrise. I'm running the transmitter off stored power. No generator today. I siphoned the last of the diesel into a sealed jug. Saving it for a move, if I have to make one. Something's wrong with the street outside. The shadows aren't falling right. I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean the actual shadows. They're longer, twisted, not lined up with the angle of the sun. I walked out this morning to check the food cache in the alley and saw the shadow of a signpost leaning the wrong way. There wasn't any wind. I'm not the only one who's seeing it. I got 2 calls today mentioning the same thing. One from a man in Wichita who said his neighbor's flagpole cast a double shadow. The other from a nurse in Fresno who said the tree outside her window is bent one way, but the shadow bends the other. She said she's afraid to sleep during the day now, afraid she'll wake up and the shadow will be inside. I told her it's just the light playing tricks, but I don't know anymore. I don't know what this heat is doing to us. People are cracking. I passed a man this morning who was crouched in a pothole, trying to bury himself in road dust. His lips were moving, but there wasn't any sound. I reached for him and he screamed like I was fire. Ran without his shoes. Left a trail of blood. He wasn't the first. This is more than a blackout now. This is pressure. I heard from Jolene again, the trucker from Reno. She's made it south, somewhere near the Sierra foothills. She says it's even hotter there, but there's a river that hasn't dried yet. Cold enough to shock your bones if you step in without warning. She's set up camp with 4 others, 2 teenagers, a retired electrician, and a man who used to drive long-haul medical deliveries. They've built a wind-powered filtration system out of salvaged bike parts. She called in just to say, "We're not giving up." She said they play cards by flashlight at night, said they take turns telling stories of the world before the flare, said they each keep one thing from the past, just one, and that's the deal. One thing each. Hers is a trucker's map, laminated, covered in her handwriting. One of the teenagers carries a broken tablet with photos still on it. The battery's dead, but he says he remembers every face. That's the thing that's keeping us alive now. Memory. Not machines. Just what we carry in our heads. I had a call from a man named Eli, north of Durango. Said his town has formed a circle. Literally. They've cleared an open area, arranged their tents and tarps in a wide ring, and built a communal fire pit in the center. No leaders, no votes. Everyone shares what they can. He said they treat knowledge like water, something to pour out for others. He also said they lost 2 people yesterday. Not to the heat, but to something else. Said the pair wandered off toward a flashing light and never came back. When others went looking, all they found was a burned patch of grass and 2 empty shoes. I asked if he thought it was a flare, a new one. He said no. He said, it was too local, too quiet. It didn't fry the air. It whispered. I'm recording everything now, even the weird stuff, especially the weird stuff. Because if this is how the world ends, I want the record to be messy, true, not clean, not edited. You deserve to know how strange it's gotten. I had to leave the shelter for a while today. The walls are holding heat like a thermos. I walked up to the freeway ramp. Used to be a bad idea, too exposed. But now, no one's there. It's just a graveyard of melted cars and rubber puddles. The road signs are bending. One of them peeled halfway off its pole. The words are blistered. I think it said, "Caution, road work ahead." Not anymore. From up there, I saw something in the distance, east of the city, maybe 20 miles. A plume of dark smoke. Not fire smoke, thicker, greasy, like rubber or plastic burning in a pit. It rose straight up, even with the dead air. Then it vanished. If anyone's out that way, east of Phoenix, near the Gila River, past the old industrial park, let me know what that was. Could be a camp, could be a signal, could be worse. I keep thinking about time. We always thought the clock would save us. Technology, schedules, recovery plans. But the clock's died too, and time doesn't feel right anymore. Everything stretches. Every hour feels like 3. Every day is just a shade of the last. I mark time by water now. When I fill the pot, when I drink, when I boil, when I listen to the drip in the back room from the condensation net. That's my new calendar. I'll end this cycle with one last call. A woman named Ray from Spokane. She spoke soft, like she hadn't used her voice in days. Said her daughter is deaf. They've been using a flashlight to blink messages in Morse. They sit on the roof every night and signal into the dark. She said they haven't gotten a blink back yet, but they still try. She said, "We'll keep blinking until someone sees us, even if no one ever does." That's what this is. A blink into the dark. Keep blinking, Ray. Someone's watching, even if they don't blink back. I've been awake for almost 2 days now. I don't know if it's the heat or the fear or both, but I just can't sleep anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I hear things I shouldn't. Wires vibrating when there's no wind. A knock on the steel hatch upstairs that never comes again. The sound of someone breathing behind me, even though the room is empty. I'm still here. That's all I can say. It's just after 4 p.m. The light outside is a sick yellow color. Everything's dry and swollen and cracking. The parking lot near the canal looks like it's trying to peel itself up from the earth. Someone scrawled a message in the dirt wall yesterday. Don't drink the shadow water. I don't know what it means. I don't think I want to. I've been listening to the frequencies all day, picking up bits and pieces, half-broken voices, static that almost sounds like speech if you lean in close enough. The thing is, they're not all in English anymore. I caught what might have been Spanish, and maybe Russian, then something that sounded like it was being sung, long and slow and mechanical, like a record warped in the sun. One line stuck out in English, barely audible, but I wrote it down. If they're not watching the sky anymore, it means the sky started watching them. I don't know who said it, or why, but I haven't stopped thinking about it. I went outside early this morning, just before the sun crested the hills. It's the only time the air doesn't feel like it's scraping the inside of your throat. I saw a man dragging a sled down the center of the highway. It was made of sheet metal, tied to a backpack. On the sled was a car battery, a cooking pot, and what looked like a photograph in a frame. He didn't look at me, just kept walking east. It was completely silent, except for his boots and the metal scraping the ground. That's the part that breaks me sometimes. Not the pain, not the loss, but how quiet we've become. The absence of voice, the vanishing of music. But I heard something today. Music, real music, a piano. It came from 98.3 on the FM dial, somewhere around midday, just for a moment. No voice, no signal ID, just a melody. Broken, slow, maybe 5 notes, then silence. It played again 4 hours later. Same notes, same station. I'm going to keep listening. If someone's playing music, that means someone remembers. That means somewhere out there, a hand still presses keys. Not just to survive, but to feel. A name came in today. Ren. You've heard it before. Her father called in last week, said he hadn't heard from her since the flare. Today, I got a signal from the outskirts of San Antonio. Someone using a hand-cranked rig said they saw a girl fitting her description working with a recovery crew near the water treatment plant ruins. They were setting up a barrel filtration system using storm drains. No one was talking, just working, like ants rebuilding after rain. The caller didn't get close enough to ask a name, but he said she was humming. Said it was a song about birds. If that's you, Ren, your father's still waiting, still hoping. He saved your voice. I'm saving your name. Another voice reached me last night, not through radio, but in person. Someone knocked on the shelter door, the hatch, the heavy one with the bar across it. I almost didn't believe it. First sound I'd heard from above in days. I waited 10 minutes, then opened it slowly. She was sitting cross-legged in the alley, middle-aged, sweat-soaked, burned across the nose, holding a plastic bag with 7 oranges and a dead phone. She didn't speak at first, just stared. Then she said, "I thought this was a church. I heard a voice." I didn't correct her. I brought her inside, gave her half a water pouch and the last of the salted rice. She said her name was Hallie. Yes, like the comet. She'd walked here from Yuma. She told me things I didn't want to know. She said the desert is turning on people. Said the nights are hotter now, not cooler. Said people are disappearing, not from sickness or heat stroke, but just disappearing. Said she saw a group of 6 walk behind a sand dune and only 5 came back. No one noticed until later. Said they all heard a sound, low and constant, like a broken engine idling underground. I asked if she was hallucinating. She said maybe, but she looked too clear-eyed for that. Hallie left just before sunrise. Wouldn't stay. Said she doesn't like roofs anymore. Said she feels closer to the truth when she's under the sky. She left one of the oranges on the table by the mic. It's the first color I've seen in days that wasn't rust or dust or skin. If anyone out there sees her, Hallie, desert walker, with the soft voice and the comet name, tell her I still have the orange. I'm saving it for a better day. That's the thing, isn't it? We're all saving something now. A song, a fruit, a map, a photograph. We're not hoarding anymore. We're choosing. We're choosing what gets to live with us. I'm going to keep this transmission short tonight. The batteries are unstable. One of them smells wrong. Sulfur almost. I think it's starting to bulge. I've wrapped it in cloth and moved it to the far wall. But before I sign off, I want to read something I found in a torn-up notebook near an old shelter entry. It just said, "There's no rescue coming, only memory, and maybe that's enough." Maybe it is. I'll try to be back tomorrow. Look for the blinking code. 3 short, 1 long. That's still me. Stay cool. Stay human. Don't follow strange lights. Don't trust the shadows if they move faster than you do. Good night. It's 3:11 p.m. The sky is white again. Not blue, not gray. White, like paper held too close to a flame. The heat outside isn't rising anymore. It's just staying, like it's settled in for good. Like it's decided this is its home now. I went out this morning. Needed to check on the solar wiring. Make sure the foil wrap hadn't torn again. The wind picked up last night. Just enough to knock some loose roofing down onto the panels. I didn't hear it fall. I don't sleep deeply anymore. When I stepped outside, everything felt slower, like the air had turned to syrup. There were no sounds, No engines, no birds. Not even my own footsteps sounded right. Just the buzz of heat, low and constant, like a headache behind your eyes. I walked past a strip mall I hadn't checked in days. Used to be a barber shop, a pawn store, and one of those vape lounges that always smelled like burnt candy. Now it's just glass and dust and a stack of chairs someone tried to use as barricade. Inside, I found an empty room with a message scratched into the counter. We tried to stay. It got inside. I don't know what they meant by it, but I didn't stay long. Something's changing. It's not just the sun anymore. I picked up a signal this morning, stronger than usual, originating from somewhere east of Flagstaff. The voice was male, calm, too calm. It repeated the same message twice, then cut to static. Emergency Protocol Echo 9 has been activated. If you are receiving this transmission, you are inside the radius. Shelter in place. Do not attempt to evacuate. Further instructions will follow. I've heard that phrase before. Inside the radius. But it's military. Usually tied to containment. Whatever Echo 9 is, it means someone somewhere still thinks there's something to contain. After the message, I picked up nothing. No follow-up, no coordinates. Just a faint, rhythmic ticking. Not Morse, just ticks. I don't know if it's automated or if someone's out there pushing a button over and over because they don't know what else to do. If you're the one sending that signal, repeat the message with timestamps. Give us your location. If this is real, people need more than warnings. I got a shortwave call this afternoon. A man named Raul said he's stationed with a small group near an old radio observatory, possibly VLA Station D, though he wasn't certain. Said the facility was decommissioned, but they've managed to bring some systems online using car batteries and copper plate arrays. Raul said they've been monitoring frequencies above 300 megahertz and have noticed something strange. Something that doesn't match solar interference. He called it non-natural band noise. A frequency spike repeating every 46 minutes, sharp and clean, like a chirp through empty space. He didn't speculate, but his voice cracked when he said, "Whatever it is, it's not ours." I asked if they were safe. He paused, then said, "Safer than most. But it's getting harder to sleep." Same here, Raul. I want to share something that shook me. Not a call. Not a signal. Just a moment. This morning, I saw a boy sitting on top of a shipping container 3 blocks from the shelter. He had a mirror. Just a small one. Pocket size. He was using it to flash light toward the west, slow and deliberate, like he was trying to talk to someone far away. I watched him for almost 10 minutes. He never stopped. Never turned. Never blinked. I finally called out to him. He looked down at me, nodded once, and said, "She's still out there." "I know she is." Then he went back to flashing the mirror. I didn't ask who she was. We're all waiting for someone. Let me read a few updates from listener messages. A couple from Boulder have rigged a shaded greenhouse using salvaged billboard vinyl. They're growing beans and carrots from stored seeds using hand-pumped well water. They're inviting others to trade skills for food. If you're nearby, look for the giant red Q painted on the roof of a stone building. A survivor in West Texas says her group has converted a school bus into a mobile clinic. They drive it 10 miles each day, collecting the sick and dropping off water where they can. She said the tires are starting to melt. Said the only thing that keeps her going is the face of a girl who kissed her hand when she brought aspirin. A woman in northern Nevada says her father has started carving instructions into old furniture. How to start fires without matches. How to read the sky for weather. How to purify water using nothing but sun and sand. She calls it the Wood Library. She's leaving them at crossroads, hoping someone finds them. That's what hope looks like now. It's not flashy. It doesn't make noise. It's quiet, practical, kind. I want to say something about grief, because we're carrying so much of it now. Not just the people we lost, but the lives we had, the routines, the noise, the machines, the illusion of control. We've been stripped down to the bone, and what's left, what's underneath, is fragile. But it's real. I heard someone say once that grief is just love with nowhere to go. Maybe that's why I'm still broadcasting, giving it somewhere to go, somewhere to land. If you're listening right now, you're the reason I haven't stopped. Not yet. I'll end this transmission with a list of places that have confirmed safe shelter in the last 48 hours. Old fairgrounds outside Helena, Montana. Shade structures, well water, rotating watch shifts. Abandoned water treatment facility outside Shreveport, Louisiana. Low elevation, but cool interior. North-facing tunnel systems beneath old Seattle light rail. Small communities. Look for blue tarp markings. If you're near these, try to reach them. Approach during daylight. Carry something reflective, foil, mirror, glass, to signal peace. And if you're alone, know this. The signal's still going. The names are still being spoken. You are not forgotten. I'll be back tomorrow. This is the blackout, but not the end. Not yet. It's 4:58 p.m. now. I waited until the light started to bend. That's when the air thins just enough to breathe without feeling like your lungs are being slow roasted from the inside. The sun's been up since before I opened my eyes, and it doesn't set anymore. Not really. It just lowers itself to the edge of the earth and lingers, long enough to remind you it's not done with us. Today marks 2 weeks since the flare, 14 days since the world went silent, 14 days since every battery that wasn't hidden in foil turned into a useless brick. I've started tracking the days by the way the sky smells. Some mornings it smells like wire, some like ash. Today it smelled like cooked plastic and concrete dust. I don't know if that's a weather system or just what it smells like when a whole world forgets how to function. The shelter's still holding. Solar's been good today. No cloud cover, just full burn. I'm sitting here with my shirt soaked from the condensation catch, and my hands still shaking a little from what I saw outside. I was on the roof of the old convenience store 2 blocks north. I go up there to scout sometimes. It's quiet, no line of sight to the freeway. From there, I can see down toward the edge of the canal, the one with the cracked sidewalk and that busted green trash can tipped over. And I saw a line of people, at least 15, maybe more. They were walking in single file, slow, not stumbling, not frantic, just methodical. Heads down, arms to their sides, every single one of them wearing a mask, not medical, not cloth, something else, shiny, looked like welding shields or metal cutouts. And they didn't talk, not once. I watched them move from the canal to the South Road, past the dead gas station, and then out of view. I didn't follow. I've seen a lot of strange things since the flare. But that felt different. I've been picking up whispers across frequencies, people describing similar groups, silent walkers, masked, sometimes in pairs, sometimes alone. One report from a man outside Bakersfield said he saw a woman standing motionless for 12 hours in front of a broken power station, just staring at the transformer. He said she didn't move until nightfall, and when she did, she walked west. I'm not drawing conclusions, not yet, but the behavior's spreading, whatever it is, whoever they are. If you've seen the masked walkers, don't engage, don't approach, note the direction, watch from distance, use mirrors, not light. They don't seem to respond to reflection. Other updates. I got a call today from a woman named Tanya, near Stillwater. She says they've managed to salvage a crank-powered air filtration rig from an old emergency response center. They've installed it in a community shelter dug beneath a high school. 12 people inside, 1 child. They rotate cranking in shifts, 30 minutes on, 90 off. She said they've named the shelter the Lung. She also said one of the teenagers there found a cat yesterday. It was hiding inside a vending machine, alive. Thin, scared, but alive. First animal I've heard of surviving the flare. They've named it Mercury. If a cat can make it, so can we. Another message came in from a man named Silas, northwest of Denver. He says he's been documenting the deterioration of urban infrastructure for 10 days straight. Says buildings are coming apart faster than expected. Concrete spalling from thermal stress, metal beams twisting, pavement buckling in parking lots. Said he saw a power tower lean 30 degrees without any seismic activity. He said something that stuck with me. It's like the cities are shedding themselves, like they know they weren't made for this. I don't think he's wrong. I want to share a story from someone who didn't leave their name. A written note left in the mailbox of this shelter. No envelope. Just folded paper with grease smudges and a single line scrawled across the top. When the signal ends, the story has to survive in someone else's voice. The rest of the page was full of tiny writing. A memory, I think. A woman talking about her father, how he used to sit her on his lap in front of a shortwave radio and scan stations at night, listening for voices from places we'll never go. She said he'd close his eyes and smile and say, "This is proof the world's still turning." I read that 4 times. Then I folded it and placed it with the others in the sealed tin. I've started saving things now. Not food, not gear, words, voices, paper, cassettes, notes, receipts, anything that tells the truth. Because even if this all comes back, if the grid rises from the grave and the lights flicker back on, there's no guarantee anyone will believe what happened. They'll call it chaos, temporary. They'll build clean timelines and talk about the response and the recovery like it was all coordinated. But it wasn't. We know that. We lived it. This is what it looked like. Silence, heat, desperation, kindness, shadows. I want to end tonight with a request. If you're listening, write something down. Anything. Your name, your story, a recipe, a song, a prayer. Then hide it somewhere the sun can't get to. We're not just surviving. We're archiving. We're documenting the fall in case the next people need to understand the cost of forgetting. If you've got stories, send them, even if it's just a few words, even if you think no one will read them. I will. I promise. Signal returns at 4 p.m. tomorrow if solar holds. This is the blackout, but stories still glow in the dark, and I'm still here to carry them. It's just past 4:30 p.m. now. Another day still breathing. I woke up to the sound of static. Not silence. Static. That matters. Something crackled through the frequency band around 3:52 a.m. I had the receiver tuned to low volume, just enough to trigger the motion alert I rigged from an old cassette tape motor. It was short. 12 seconds, maybe 13. A burst of low clicks, a pause, then 4 beeps, evenly spaced, and then a voice. No name, no code. Just one sentence. The blackout has entered phase 2. I tried to trace it, couldn't. I don't have the equipment. Closest estimate puts the origin somewhere near Salt Lake. Could be military. Could be someone pretending to be. But it didn't sound automated. It sounded tired. Like me. Like you. I've been up since then. Couldn't go back to sleep. Not that I really do anymore. Just short drops into something like dreaming, but not restful. No one dreams right now. Not the way we used to. You close your eyes and the heat follows you in. If phase 2 means anything, I don't think it's good. Let me tell you what I've seen today. The canal dried up completely last night. No more puddles, just cracked mud and some salt deposits around the curve where the water used to drag. I walked down into it this morning and left footprints so deep I had to dig my boots out with a stick. That used to be a source, not clean, but cool enough to condense. Now it's dead. I moved some gear into the back of the shelter, repositioned the batteries, trying to manage the last good cell, wrapped it in a towel soaked in brine, like the old battery conditioning trick. Don't know if it'll work. Don't care. You try what you can. I'm thinking about heading north. Not far, just high. The hills above the valley used to be covered in radio towers and solar farms. Maybe something up there still works. Maybe one of those towers wasn't hit as hard. Or maybe it's a graveyard like everything else. But elevation means cooler nights. That's worth something. I haven't seen Hallie since she left. The woman with the oranges. She said she didn't like roofs, remember? I still think about that. I hope she's somewhere without one. Hope she's got sky, or at least a breeze. Another call came through this afternoon, from someone named Carter. Deep voice. Said he was running a relay station out of a grain elevator near Lincoln, Nebraska. Said they've been keeping survivors alive by melting plastic and remolding it into water canisters. Said they use corn stalks as insulation to cool storage drums underground. Said it smells awful, but no one complains. He asked me if I'd heard anything about the satellites. I told him no. He said one of the people in his group used to work for a ground control center, retired military contract. That person said the flare may have knocked out more than just surface systems. Said orbital decay was already a problem before this. Said we might start seeing pieces come down. Not the big ones, the little things. Comms junk, debris, glass and antenna fragments with nowhere to go but down. He said, if they fall hard enough, they'll look like sparks. So if you're out there and you see streaks in the sky, short and fast and silent, it might not be shooting stars. It might be us. Burning back in. I haven't seen the boy with the mirror since yesterday. I passed the shipping container again. Empty now. Just a pile of cloth and a cracked water jug. No footprints leading away. If he left, he covered his tracks. Or someone else did. I'm hearing more about that. Missing people, not just from heat stroke or wandering too far. Vanishings. One woman called in from Santa Rosa said her daughter walked out to the garden to check the moisture trap and never came back. No struggle, no trail, just gone. She said the plants were still moving, like she brushed them. I didn't know what to say. You reach a point where language just stops working. I've been thinking about when this started. Not the moment the flare hit, but the warnings. The ones we ignored. There were solar alerts for weeks, interference reports, shortwave disruptions. They called them anomalies. Minor, manageable. They always do. We were too busy, too comfortable. And then the sky cracked open, and every promise we built on circuits and convenience crumbled in the light. But I still think we can come back from this. Not the same way. Not with apps and grids and instant everything. But with hands. With skill. With trust. With voices. You're hearing mine now. Let me tell you whose else is out there. Ellie from Birmingham. Still running a campfire-based steam distillery, trading clean water for shelter. Micah from Boise. Built a sundial network to keep time across 5 blocks. Sends runners with updates written on bottle caps. Lena from outside Lubbock. Runs a single flashlight off a bike wheel generator. Says it's the best way to keep the kids calm at night. Just spinning the pedal, watching light hold back the dark. These aren't big things, but they're everything. I'll be off the air for a few hours while I charge the bank. Solar's dropping faster now, and the batteries aren't what they used to be. If you're listening, remember the pulse. 3 short, 1 long. I'll return on that beat. Until then, be careful with silence. Trust your senses. Write down your name and where you are. Tape it to a wall. Say it out loud if no one's near. We're still here, and sometimes just saying it is enough to hold the sky in place. It's 5:06 p.m. The air's thick again. It clings to your skin like syrup. Not sweet, just heavy, like breathing through a wet blanket. I haven't left the shelter today, not even once. I sat near the back wall most of the morning, next to the last working panel. It buzzes when the voltage rises, barely audible, like a whisper under the floorboards. I keep a small chunk of metal on top of it, just to feel the warmth. It's not much, but it's alive. Still conducting. Still pulling something from the sky that didn't kill us. I'm rationing the broadcast gear more aggressively now. This transmission will be shorter. Fewer calls. No background scan. Just voice. I'll keep using the charge for this mic as long as I can. The rain didn't come. There was a moment, maybe 20 minutes just after 2 p.m., where the light shifted and it felt like clouds were trying to form. The air cooled by maybe 2 degrees. Then nothing. No wind. No scent of ozone. Just stillness. And then the temperature bounced back like a whip. I haven't seen any birds in 6 days. Used to be a few sparrows on the wire out back. 1 crow that used to hop around the utility pole every morning like it had a job to do. Gone. I found a feather by the grate near the sidewalk. Still black, still smooth, but it was warm. Too warm, like it had been microwaved from the inside. I didn't keep it. I'm starting to hear things in the static again. Not voices, not exactly. It's like echoes, like someone speaking but through a glass wall, backwards or too fast. 1 burst sounded like metal scraping against water, another like a dial-up modem loop, slow and stretched. None of it feels right, and none of it logs properly. When I play the recording back, it's just hiss. But in the moment, I hear it. I know I do. There was a transmission early this morning. Very weak. Broken. Someone said, "The sky is speaking again," but the words don't land. I wrote it down. I've started doing that more, just collecting phrases like fossils, little pieces of meaning left behind. Got a message from someone in what used to be Las Cruces. Said they're part of a camp with rotating shifts underground, basement of a county building that never got fully demolished. They've divided the space by silence. People who need to talk stay near the front. People who can't anymore go toward the back. They call that rear section the hush. Said they've found a way to cook using magnified glass heat, put food in a box lined with foil, prop it open, angle it toward a mirror they mounted on a stop sign. It takes 4 hours to boil a cup of rice, but it works. Got another update from Ellie, the one from Birmingham with the steam distillery. She started writing instructions on the side of discarded doors. She calls them field manuals, leaves them leaning upright near roadways so travelers can read without stopping. One said, Day 19. Found a woman with heat sickness. Rubbed vinegar on her arms. She made it through the night. Another just read, If you take water, leave a name. She's documenting a new kind of order, one not enforced with laws or power, but stories. Consequence through memory. I think that's stronger than fear. I haven't heard anything from the East Coast in 3 days. No pings, no pulses, nothing above 90 megahertz. The bands are dead. If you're out there, Newark, Baltimore, Charlotte, Savannah, anyone near the coast, check your rig. Even a spark is enough. Even one ping. We need to know if the ocean is still speaking. The western mountain groups are still holding. Just barely. I've heard from an outpost near Coeur d'Alene that's using cold water runoff from a hydro station to cool a greenhouse they've built out of broken windshields. Said the algae's growing faster than expected. Said it smells like moss and gasoline. Said it's beautiful. That's the first time someone's used that word in weeks. Beautiful. I needed that. A few names to mention before I go dark again. Remy, outside Amarillo. Found a working transistor radio buried in an RV. Sent me a Morse message just to say thank you. Zara, from somewhere near the Olympic Peninsula, said she still sings at night. Said her voice keeps the coyotes away. Jonas, in a shelter west of Albuquerque, said he's teaching kids how to draw again, on the inside of cardboard with charcoal. One of them drew the sun wearing a bandage. I want you to remember those names. They're proof that we're not just fading. We're adapting. The heat's not beating us, it's shaping us. The sky may be broken, the grid may be gone, but you're still here, still tuning in, still listening. That's everything. One last thing before I power down. Someone asked me yesterday why I still talk when there's no guarantee anyone hears it, when there's no response, when the silence comes back stronger than the signal. I told them, because someone's got to keep the story alive until it finds its listener, even if it takes days, or weeks, or longer. This is that story. You're the listener. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, if I can. Signal pulse is still 3 short, 1 long. Stay cool, stay kind. And if the shadows feel too long tonight, light something, even a match, even just a thought. It's 6:17 p.m. Later than I planned to speak, but the solar was weak today. Had to scrape the dust off the panel twice. Took half an hour just to get enough charge for 1 broadcast cycle. It's strange, after all the brightness, the sun's starting to feel distant, still hot, still deadly, but somehow more hollow, like it's radiating without reason, like it doesn't care anymore if we live or die. Not that it ever did. I almost didn't turn the mic on today. My throat's raw, and I'm running low on saline. Been talking less to conserve what I have. You wouldn't believe how much you miss salt until it's gone. I've been drinking boiled water mixed with a little charcoal dust and trace minerals from a steel pot. It keeps the headache away, barely. But that taste, burnt metal and dust, it sticks, doesn't go away. I think that's what the world tastes like now. Metal and memory. I've been logging temperatures each hour, just scratching them into the doorframe with a screw. Highest point today was 116. Lowest was 97. That was around 4:15 a.m. The shelter's walls creaked from the change. I counted 5 expansion pops in the western corner. I know eventually they'll split. Everything will. I picked up a new voice last night. South band, 33.6 megahertz. Weak but constant. A man, middle-aged by the sound, accent hard to place. He said, "You're not supposed to see it. The light is thinking now. It's looking back." Then the signal cut. He never identified himself. Never repeated. I scanned for the next hour. Nothing. Just that same hollow whine we've all learned to live with. I think it's in my ears now even when the radio's off. Sometimes I wonder if what we're hearing is real at all, or just the world's dying memory trying to speak through whatever's left of us. There's a group moving west along the I-40 corridor. They've been mentioned in 3 separate call-ins. About 12 people traveling at night. No lights, no sound. Wearing dark wraps soaked in vinegar to block the heat. They call themselves the Sleepwalkers. They leave chalk marks near broken signs. Shapes. Mostly moons, crescents, spirals, stars. One traveler described them as moving in waves like fish, never breaking formation. When asked what they wanted, he said, "They don't want anything. They're just going somewhere they think is colder. I don't know if that place exists. If it does, I hope they find it." I got a call from someone named Emery. They're holed up in a bus depot just outside Spokane. 4 people with a crank radio, a map, and a cooler of spoiled meat they're using to lure rats. Said they've built a rat trap from aluminum gutters and coffee cans. They're eating protein again. Said the first bite was the hardest. Then, they stopped noticing. I told them to keep boiling twice. Triple if they can. They said, "Doesn't matter much. We've already changed." That's what's happening to us, isn't it? It's not just survival anymore. It's metamorphosis. The slow kind. Not beautiful. Not romantic. Just real. I walked 2 blocks today to salvage a mirror off a broken sedan. Needed something reflective to flash if the signal goes down. It cracked in my hand when I pulled it loose. Still works, but now the reflection is broken into 8 pieces. When I looked at my face through it, I didn't recognize what I saw. Burned skin, red eyes, cheekbones too sharp. A man who hasn't slept properly in a month. A ghost still pretending to be a broadcaster. But I'm still here. And so are you. Let me give you the last few names on my list before power drops. Lennox, Baton Rouge. Running a bartered battery swap program using windmill-powered recharge. Mai, from outside Salt Lake City. Said she found an old harmonica and plays it every morning facing east. Tova, Oregon border. Built a water still out of an aquarium and a black trash bag. Saving the cleanest drops for children only. Every single one of these people is doing something that keeps someone else alive. That's the only real measure of worth we've got left now. Not money, not status, just action. Are you helping someone? Are you carrying a name for someone who can't speak anymore? Then you're doing enough. I'm going to try and get some rest. I know I say that every night, and most nights I lie here staring at the ceiling, waiting for the hum of something, anything, that reminds me we're not alone. But tonight I'll try. I'm holding on to a memory. It's small. When I was a kid, maybe 8 or 9, my mother used to keep a frozen bottle of water in the fridge. Not for drinking, just to hold. She'd press it to the back of her neck on hot days and sigh like it was magic. That's what I think of now. Not the disasters, not the tech, but that sound she made. Relief. Real and brief. If you've got something that feels like that, hold on to it. We don't know what's coming next, but we've got the present, and we've still got signal. I'll be back tomorrow. Same pulse. Same hour. Stay cool. If you can't stay cool, stay kind. If you can't stay kind, stay human. That's enough. It's 4:42 p.m. The shelter walls feel softer today. That's not the right word, I know, but they're not solid like before. Heat's warped the metal, and the insulation's begun to fall apart in the corners. I can see where the glue's let go. Everything's sagging. Even the air feels like it's folding in on itself. I lost the secondary transmitter last night. It had been on its last leg anyway. Old circuit board from a car stereo, jerry-rigged through a converter bank I got off a busted treadmill. I could smell it burning before it failed. The kind of smell that makes you wonder if you're breathing in your last working connection. I've still got the primary. Barely. I'm keeping the cooling fan running with a hand pump. 5 minutes of crank for 10 minutes of air. Everything's a trade now. I didn't speak this morning. Couldn't. The heat hit a high around 119 by noon, and I spent an hour lying on the floor with a wet rag over my mouth, just trying not to black out. You can't sweat anymore, not when you've got nothing left to give. Your body just kind of stops negotiating. And yet here I am, talking again, because someone might still be listening. I got a strange signal today, faint, buried under band noise. It sounded like whistling, a melody. 4 notes, maybe 5, played slowly, then silence, then again, always the same pattern. I don't know if it's music or code or just someone losing their mind in a basement with a flute, but it made me cry. Not because it was sad, but because it was deliberate. In this world, deliberate matters. It means there's still intention, still a person behind the sound. If that's you, wherever you are, keep playing. Even if no one answers, I heard it, and it helped. A voice came through on 19.7 this morning, low, raspy, older man, might have been from Manitoba judging by the cadence. He said, "What if we're not survivors? What if we're just echoes walking backward through a story that already ended?" He didn't sign off, just let the transmission fade. I haven't stopped thinking about that. Some days it does feel like we're stuck inside the aftermath of something that already decided our fate. But if we are echoes, then this is what we sound like. Desperate, kind, persistent, tired. Still trying. That's not the worst legacy. I've started writing things down more often. Not just logs, thoughts, dreams. Whatever pieces of memory come loose when I'm too hot to sleep. Last night, I dreamed about my old apartment. Nothing important happened. I was just sitting on the floor eating a cold peach out of a tin. It was quiet. The window was cracked open. You could hear birds, distant traffic, somebody coughing in the hallway, real life. And then the lights flickered once. Just once. And I knew, even in the dream, that it meant the end was coming. But I kept eating the peach anyway. I think that's the whole story, isn't it? The world ends in pieces, and you just keep doing the next thing. I want to read some names before the battery cuts out. Solomon, Kansas City. Still running a bicycle generator that powers a light for 30 seconds every 3 hours. Says those 30 seconds keep him sane. Elise, near Sedona, found an underground storage bunker with canned goods still sealed, sharing rations with 2 elderly neighbors who haven't left their home since the blackout. Jamie, Fresno outskirts, using old ceramic roof tiles to reflect sunlight onto black barrels, slow boiling water system. She calls it sun soup. Says it's not tasty, but it's clean. You see what I mean? People are still trying, still showing up for each other, still figuring out how to be human even when the world forgets what that looks like. I got a letter yesterday, a real one, folded in half, pressed through the side of the door, written in blue ink on the back of a cereal box. Cornflakes. It said simply, "I thought I was alone. Then I heard you. I still don't know your name. Doesn't matter. Thank you." I sat with that letter for a long time. I don't need to be remembered. I just need to be real to someone else. That's all we're doing here. Not making history, just being real to each other. And if I can give you anything tonight, it's this. You matter. Your pain, your memory, your sweat, your breath, all of it. It matters. I don't know how long this system will keep running, but until it fails, I'll keep coming back. One voice, one pulse, one story at a time. Same time tomorrow, same broken frequency, and if the sky falls in on us before then, remember, you were here, and you heard me. It's 5:11 p.m. I just came down from the roof. The sky's the color of old blood, kind of rusted at the edges, orange and bruised near the middle. The clouds aren't really clouds anymore. They don't move like them. They hang there, like whatever's behind them is too heavy to lift. It's quiet again, not empty, just quiet in that way where even sound feels nervous to move. There were no walkers today, no birds, no planes, no shimmer from far-off roads. I stood for an hour with the mic receiver open just waiting for a ping. Nothing, not even static. And that's what scares me the most. Because even in death, radios usually hiss. But today, it was like the frequency forgot how to exist. Something's wrong out there. More wrong than before. I think we're nearing a kind of threshold, like whatever held us together before is giving out. Gravity feels thin. The air feels wrong. I can't explain it. I'm not a scientist. I'm just trying to describe what it feels like when your gut starts whispering louder than the radio. I got one signal this morning. Barely a whisper. Someone with a busted CB loop out of Prescott. They were yelling, really yelling, into the mic. Most of it was garbled, but 2 words came through, clear as glass. No sky. I don't know what that means. I want to believe it's just metaphor, a poetic way to say things feel hopeless. But I've heard it 3 times now, from 3 different places. No sky. Sky gone. Sky wrong. I keep thinking about that, because the sun's still there. The heat's still killing us. But something above us, has changed. If you're out there, if you're seeing anything strange overhead, write it down, sketch it, burn it into memory. We might not be able to trust our gear anymore, but we still have eyes. I want to talk about the dreams again. I haven't slept properly in 3 days, but I doze. And every time I do, the same image keeps coming back. A long hallway flooded with ankle-deep water, and above me, lights hanging from strings, not wires, not cords, just strings, like puppets, all slowly swinging. And there's a sound behind me. Not footsteps. More like breathing. Deep. Measured. But not mine. I wake up gasping every time. It's not the kind of fear that screams. It's the kind that creeps. The kind that wraps around your bones. I've asked others, on the few channels still open. They're dreaming too. Same imagery, same themes, strings, lights, water, and something watching, something quiet and patient, something waiting. I don't know what it means. Maybe it's the heat. Maybe we're all losing our minds in the same exact way. But what are the odds of that? Got a message scratched into the wall outside my shelter. I didn't hear anyone come, which means they moved quiet. Maybe while I was sleeping. It just said, "There are voices in the heat. Don't listen too long." I don't know if it's a warning or a joke. I read it anyway. Then I left a note of my own beneath it. Still here. Still listening. I don't think they'll reply. But sometimes, just saying it matters. I haven't forgotten your names. The ones who checked in last week. The ones who haven't spoken since. Ethan, outside Flagstaff, you said you were fixing an old projector to play cartoons for the kids in your shelter. I hope it still works. Samira, near the burned-out edge of Portland, you said you were writing lullabies from memory, trying to hum them back into the air. I still hum one of them sometimes, when the radio cuts out. Marlon, from the edge of Tampa, you built a fishing trap out of old fan blades, sent me a sketch in pencil on the back of a food label, said you caught 3 minnows, enough to call it a victory. I haven't forgotten. And if this really is the threshold, if something bigger is happening, then let me say this clearly before the power fails again. You mattered. Your breath, your story, your presence in this world, even if no one else ever heard you. I heard you. This mic, this frequency, this ragged little signal. I swear to whatever's still awake above us, I'll hold this line as long as I can. If you're listening right now, I want you to do one thing. Stand up, just for a second. Stretch your legs. Breathe deep. Say your name out loud. Even if you're alone. Especially if you're alone. Say it like you mean it, because you're still here. And until we're not, we're still worth fighting for. Same pulse tomorrow. If the sky holds, 3 short, 1 long. This is not the end. It's 4:25 p.m. The panel's been slow to charge today. I think the cells are blistering from the inside. The light's strong, too strong really, but it's not translating into power like it used to. I had to unspool one of the copper coils to reroute the intake current and keep the inverter from frying itself. Probably bought myself 1 or 2 more days of juice. After that, I don't know. I'm not the only one. A woman named Rana called in from somewhere east of Phoenix. She's been broadcasting from inside a refrigerated shipping crate, powered by a makeshift wind turbine tied to the top of a tipped-over streetlight. She said the wind's been still for 2 days now. Said the birds that used to ride it stopped flying the week the sun started bleeding through the walls. Said the fan blades haven't spun since Sunday. She asked me what to do when the wind dies. I told her what I tell myself. Wait for it. Even the stillness can't last forever. But I'm not sure I believe that anymore. I took a walk this morning, right before the sun hit the eastern wall and turned everything into a mirror. Only made it 4 blocks. The asphalt cracked under my feet, popped like blistered skin. The air stank of plastic and baking paint. I found 3 old license plates scattered in a driveway. Someone had been using them as signal flashers. All bent now. One was blackened at the corner like it caught fire from inside. That's been happening more often. Metal just combusting. Not from fuel, from heat trapped in closed spaces. You hear little pops all day now. Nothing explosive, just sharp and final. Like the world trying to shake something loose. I checked the mirror outside the shelter. The one I mounted last week to watch the road. It's cracked again. But this time, not from pressure or heat. This crack's shaped like a spider web. Round, intentional looking. Like something hit it. Hard. There's nothing else broken. No footprints in the dust. Just that crack. Dead center. I've started keeping the back door barred at night. And I'm not lighting the candle anymore. I don't want to be seen. I got a call late last night. Low band, voice barely coming through. A kid. Maybe 15. Said his name was Callum. Said he was holed up in a tunnel in Detroit with 2 other teens and a dog named Patches. Said they'd been surviving off melted snow for weeks, but now the snow's gone and the walls are leaking chemicals. He asked me what to do if someone in the group starts talking to people who aren't there. I didn't have a good answer. I told him sometimes, the only way to survive a collapse like this is to make room for voices. Even the invisible ones. Especially the invisible ones. He said, "Okay," and went quiet. "If you're still out there, Callum, keep the dog close. Don't run unless you have to. Trust your gut over your ears. You're not crazy. You're adjusting. We all are." I want to mention something I haven't said out loud yet. I've started hearing something beneath the normal radio noise. Not words, not patterns. A rhythm, like breathing. Mechanical, but not regular. Sometimes it sounds like an old fan winding up. Sometimes like someone exhaling through grit. I thought it was just my rig. But then I heard it again while the gear was off. I pressed my ear to the panel. Nothing. But when I stepped outside, there it was again. Faint. Low. Beneath everything. It's not tinnitus. I know what that sounds like. This is lower. Colder. It comes at night. Mostly. When the air cools just enough to make you think the worst has passed. It hasn't. We've had reports from Tennessee of something strange on the ridgelines. People moving in pairs, walking slowly along high ground, always in twos, never speaking. One person holds a small silver disc. The other has a cloth bag. Nobody's gotten close. Someone from Nashville said they tried to wave. Got no response. Just a slow turn of the head. She said their faces looked wrong, stretched. She didn't elaborate. If you're in high terrain, stay low at dusk. Block your windows. Don't answer the silence with your own voice. Sometimes the silence is bait. I want to read a few more names before the signal gives out. Desi, South end of Chicago, using mirrors to direct light through basement windows, growing mushrooms under wet cardboard. Says the harvest is tiny, but the smell is clean. Lauren, near Albuquerque, walking from shelter to shelter with a wagon full of batteries, offers to charge 2 radios a day with a rigged pedal generator. Says he's been doing it because it feels like the right thing. Adira, from near the Everglades, lives in a stilt house with her grandparents, swears she saw lightning in the distance, real lightning, just after dawn. Said it looked like the sky remembering how to feel. I like that. The sky remembering. If it can do that, maybe we can too. I'll be here tomorrow. I hope. Power's weak, solar's uncooperative, but I've got 1 more coil I can sacrifice, and a backup battery I haven't touched since week 1. If I crack the seal, it'll be my last. But I'd rather burn the last of it keeping this line open than sit in the dark wondering if you're still out there. 3 short, 1 long. Same pulse, same voice. I'm still here. Say your name into the dark, and I'll try to echo it back. It's 5:39 p.m. I didn't think I'd make it on tonight. The inverter blew a fuse an hour ago. No warning, just a pop and the smell of burnt plastic. I had a moment, sitting in the dark, holding a dead switch in my hand, where I thought, maybe that was it. Maybe that's the moment the line goes dark for good. But I remembered something. Years ago, I gutted an old camping lantern to scavenge the LEDs. It had a backup circuit, nothing fancy, just a low-voltage relay loop. I found it buried behind the desk drawer, wrapped in a strip of tin foil. Took me 30 minutes to wire it in with an old AA pack and a cracked solar converter. It's not strong, but it's enough. So here I am. Here we are. Still breathing. Still sending. I've been thinking about time. The old kind. Seconds. Hours. Days. All of it used to make sense when you had clocks and deadlines and routines. But now, it's all heat and darkness and the sound of things failing. You start to tell time by how long the water stays cool, or how far the sun shifts across the roof tiles. Someone called in from Spokane yesterday. Said they measure time in drips now. Condensation from their makeshift water collector. 1 drip every 7 seconds in the morning. 1 every 12 by nightfall. That's how they know when it's time to sleep. Not by a number, by the sound of survival slowing down. I get it. There's something honest about that. We got a signal bounce last night. First in days. Came off the edge of a weather balloon still afloat over what used to be Topeka. Somebody launched it from a field, handwritten coordinates strapped to the base with a flag made from a torn t-shirt. Signal was weak but clean. The message said, "We are making a new calendar. Day 1 is not the blackout. Day 1 is today. You are not too late." I read that 3 times. I think it might be the most hopeful thing I've heard since the lights went out. Because it means we're not just surviving anymore. We're marking time again. Creating meaning. That matters. I haven't left the shelter in 2 days. The last walk took too much out of me. I've been rationing water more tightly. 2 sips per hour, then nothing between 1 and 4 when the heat turns thick enough to chew. I've been wrapping my head in a wet cloth during the worst of it. Cuts the pain behind the eyes. Makes you feel like you're underwater, which is a strange kind of comfort when the world above feels like an oven with no door. I miss cold. Not just water. The idea of it. The sharp feeling of stepping into a shaded hallway. The sound ice makes when it cracks in a glass. The shiver that runs down your spine when you walk barefoot across tile in the morning. I haven't felt that in over a month. I don't know if I ever will again, but I remember it, and maybe that's enough. I want to share a few names before the line fades. Garrison, outskirts of Dallas. Boiled leather scraps to soften them into something chewable. Said it tastes like shoes, but it gives his body something to do. Min, Sacramento Basin. Built a heat siphon from car parts and trash bags. Channels hot air out of her shelter through a chimney of foil-wrapped tubing. Says it lowered the inside temp by 4 degrees. 4 degrees can save a life. Talia, Vermont Highlands. Said she climbed a tower with a broken phone just to feel elevation again. Said the wind up there didn't burn. Said it reminded her that the world is still bigger than our ruins. They're still holding on. We're still holding on. Even if it's by cracked fingernails and frayed cords and the ghost of a dial tone. I found something strange yesterday. A small stone near the shelter's door. Smooth. Black. Warm, even after hours in the shade. Someone left it there. I don't know who, or why, but it wasn't natural, not in that spot. There were no footsteps, no scratch marks, just the stone, placed gently, like a message. I don't know what it means. Maybe nothing, maybe everything, but it felt deliberate, and deliberate still means human. Or something like it. I'll leave it outside again tonight. Maybe whoever left it will come back. Maybe they'll leave another. Maybe we're learning how to talk without words. I'll be back tomorrow, if the panel holds, if the inverter doesn't catch fire, if the air doesn't get so thick it collapses my lungs. I'll be back. 3 short, 1 long. Same pulse. If you're still out there, say your name. Even if you think no one's listening, say it to the dark. Say it to the heat. Say it for yourself. Because you are here, and you matter. It's 6:08 p.m. The sun finally dipped behind the ridge, just enough for the wall to cool to something under boiling. I've been watching the light bleed off the buildings like it's retreating, like even the sun is tired of us. We hit 121 degrees today. No clouds, no wind, just white sky and silence. The outside thermometer stopped registering after 118. It just blinks now. 3 red bars. That's how you know you're past the limit. Inside, it's 103. That's with every rag soaked and draped, every panel covered, every crack sealed with insulation pulled from an old mattress. It still burns. There's a kind of heat that doesn't just sit on your skin. It talks to you, whispers into your ears, tells you lies, tells you that stepping outside for just a minute won't kill you. That maybe today will be cooler on the other side of the block. That's how people die. I watched a man collapse on the pavement 3 days ago. He made it 6 steps out of the shade. Fell like he'd been unplugged. I couldn't reach him. Not in time. Not in that heat. I buried him that night. Just after 3 a.m., when the air was soft enough to breathe without choking. I didn't know his name. But I said one out loud anyway. Daniel. That was my brother's name. He died years before this started. But it felt right. Better than silence. He's not the only one. I've passed 6 graves in the last week. Some marked, some not. Most are shallow. Some are just stacks of belongings with a name scratched into the concrete beside them. That's what we are now. Names pressed into dust. And still, somehow, we go on. I picked up something from the Northwest Band today. Unusual frequency. Dead for weeks. Then, suddenly, a voice. Female, mid-30s maybe. Calm. Clear. Too clear. She said, the flare was not the end. It was the opening. What's inside is still leaking through. No sign-off. No follow-up. Not a trace of the source. It's the second time I've heard something like that. First time was near the start, back when the flare first hit and people were still trying to explain it. I remember a scientist, retired I think, called in and said the sun's behavior didn't match any previous CME pattern. He said something about the inner corona shifting, said it looked organized. At the time I thought he was just shaken. Now I'm not so sure. I've got a notebook full of fragments like that, bits of signal, one-liners, no context, just static wrapped around fear. Let me read you a few. The sky hums louder near water. Flesh burns faster when the birds stop. Voices in the wires aren't echoes. They're trying to remember the shape of speech. If the stars don't come back, it's because they're hiding. That last one, I haven't seen stars in weeks, not even faint ones. Night used to be beautiful. Now it's just black, heavy, like something pressed a lid down over the whole sky. I asked a woman from Saskatchewan, still holding a radio line up there, if she could see anything above. She said no, just a soft dome of nothing. She said the sky feels like it forgot how to shine. I don't know what that means, but I wrote it down. Because when the world starts breaking, every sentence might be a map. A few names before I lose voltage. Essie, up in Pittsburgh, says she's building a mirror array to reflect light into her community's greenhouse. She's teaching kids how to focus the beams without burning the leaves. They call her the Sun Whisperer. Leon, Arkansas, found a mechanical egg timer in a wrecked kitchen. Uses it to regulate shifts for sleep and watch duty. Says the tick gives him something solid to hang on to. Mateo, near the Baja line, created a water pump from a disassembled motorcycle. Powers it by hand. Says it feels like riding nowhere for a cause. These are the stories that matter. Not because they'll save the world, but because they prove we're still in it. Still improvising, still refusing to vanish. I haven't eaten today. Just one sip of boiled rainwater and a bite of salt cracker I found behind the tool chest. Stale, damp, tasted like rust. Still, it was food. Still, it kept me vertical. If you have more than that, share it. If you have less, ask. The rules are different now. The rule is, don't let each other disappear. I'll be back tomorrow. If I can coax one more hour of power from this dying machine, if the roof doesn't melt, if the heat doesn't cook the inverter for good, if I can't, then this might be it. But until it's truly over, I'll keep talking. 3 short, 1 long. That's the pulse. That's the proof we're still here. Say your name into the dark. Say it twice if the sky stays quiet. You matter. We still matter. It's 6:51 p.m. I had to wait till the panel cooled before charging the transmitter. Yesterday's voltage nearly tore the board apart. I wrapped the converter in wet cloth today to hold it together. Slowed the burn just enough to get 15 minutes of life back. 15 minutes. That's what a whole afternoon of heat buys you now. 15 minutes of signal. 15 minutes of voice. 15 minutes to remind someone they're not the last one breathing. So I'll use it. The mirror outside the shelter cracked again. It wasn't the heat this time. I'm sure of it. The pattern was different. It's got this thin diagonal line across the bottom now. Too clean, too precise, almost etched. Last night, I heard something just outside the door. Not a voice. Not a footstep. Breathing. Slow. Deliberate. Right up against the metal. I didn't move. Didn't speak. Just sat with my back against the inner wall and counted each breath like it was part of a prayer I didn't remember how to finish. And then it was gone. No sound walking away. No scrape. No echo. Just silence. That's the part that gets me. Real things make noise. I don't know what that was. If you're hearing things like this, write them down. Record them if you can. Tell someone. Tell me. There's something happening under the surface. Something we don't have language for yet. And that silence? That's not absence. It's pressure. There's an old weather station 10 miles west. Used to transmit barometric readings once an hour. It's dead now. But yesterday, for exactly 90 seconds, it came alive again. Only it didn't broadcast pressure. It sent this string of pulses. I caught 4 before it cut. The pattern matches the timing of certain solar burst models, but it's off by a factor of 3. I think someone hijacked the signal. I think someone, or something, is trying to send a message through the bones of old systems. If you're near any kind of repeater or relay tower, keep it monitored, even if it's dead. Especially if it's dead. The real messages won't come through working lines anymore. They'll come through ghosts. And we have to be the ones who know how to listen. I want to share some names. I have to. Every day I say them, it keeps them alive in the noise. Talon, out of Louisville, found a nest of old ham radios in a collapsed sporting goods store. He's got one running off a crank with a salvaged lithium cell. Says he hears voices from across the Atlantic every few days. Says most of them are just laughing. Rue, near Yakima, using car windows and bleach to sterilize water for the kids, found a way to melt the glue off water bottle labels to use as weatherproof patches for shelter cracks. Jono, Toronto outskirts, stitched together a map of known survivor zones based on scraps of transmissions. Keeps it updated with thumbtacks and pencil lines. He says the paper's tearing from humidity, but he keeps redrawing it. Says it reminds him that the world still has shape. We need that. Shape, purpose. Something to trace with our fingers when the lights don't come back. I read through my journal today. The first few pages, back when this all began. I sound different. Less tired. More certain. Like I still believed someone would flip a switch and everything would click back into place. I don't believe that anymore. But I don't think that's the same as giving up. You can let go of the lie without letting go of each other. That's what this has become now. A long unraveling, with threads stretched between the last people standing. Every thread matters, even if it hums so quiet you forget it's there. Especially then, if you've still got power, check your gear twice a day. Coil up your cabling at night to keep the insulation from splitting. Wrap any radio box in cloth soaked in vinegar. Cut static on the bands during flare echo. If you're bartering, salt, wire, old knives, dried herbs, matches, zip ties, those are worth more than gold now. Don't trade food unless you know what someone's giving in return. Trust is rare. Don't spend it fast. And if someone near you needs water, share it, even if it hurts. No one should go dry alone. I'll sign off soon. powers on its last breath. But I'll say this before I do. If you think you're the only one left, think again. I'm here. I'm saying your name, even if I don't know it. I'm picturing your face, even if we've never met. And I'm holding this line, even if it's the last thing I do with whatever breath I have left. Say your name. 3 short, 1 long. That's the sound we follow now. Same pulse, same promise. Back tomorrow. It's 7:23 p.m. The sun finally let go. For now. The walls aren't hissing anymore, and the air isn't thick like it was. It's not cool, nothing's cool, but it's survivable. I'm still sweating, but slower. Still alive, but slower. The generator ran dry yesterday. That was my last ethanol can. I thought it'd buy me another night or two, but I must have underestimated the draw. It's a quiet thing when the fuel cuts out. No bang, no smoke, just a slow fade into nothing. Then silence, the kind that makes your chest tighten. But I rigged the hand crank again. That old bicycle frame from the back of the shed. Turns out, if you chain it to the spindle with enough tension, you can get 30 seconds of signal for every 3 minutes of pedaling. So that's the math now. 3 minutes for 30 seconds. Cost and return. Worth it. I've got blisters on both palms. I wrapped them with gauze from the emergency drawer. I'm rationing movement now. Save strength for things that speak. Speaking still matters. I heard something strange around 2 a.m. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't static either. It was music. Low, hollow, like something played on glass. A single note, rising and falling. No melody, no rhythm. Just one tone, pulsing every 10 seconds. It came in through the broken band. I tuned the gain up to max. Couldn't trace it. No ID tag. No echo from known towers. It was just there. I stayed up the rest of the night listening to it. I think it was meant for someone. I just don't know who. If you're the one sending that note, don't stop. There's something about hearing a pattern in the dark that reminds you there's still order under all this chaos. Still a signal trying to get through. Still a reason to keep the mic warm. Got a letter yesterday. Paper. Folded twice. Left in the metal drain outside the shelter. Someone must have walked here at night. I didn't hear them. It was written in charcoal. Said, I used to teach kids how to build circuits. One day they asked me what happens if the sun turns off. I told them it never would. Now I think about that all the time. No name. No return mark. Just that. I wonder how many promises like that have been broken since this all began. We told ourselves a lot of things, didn't we? That help was coming. That the grid would recover. That the heat wave would break. That the government had a plan. That the scientists would find a fix. We clung to those lines like vines on a dead tree. And now they're all dust. But here's the thing. We're still here. Still moving. Still trying. Even if it's just through cracked wires and shortwave echoes. I want to give you names. Because that's what we do now. Carry names like lights. Ari, west of Denver, found a way to use a broken magnifier lens to boil water. Said it's slow but steady. Calls it the sun spoon. Mira, outskirts of Boise, trading shade space under her collapsed carport for battery swaps. Says one woman brought a goat in exchange. They named it Sparkplug. Donnie, near what's left of Baton Rouge, built a kite with copper wire. Said he's trying to harvest static charge from the upper air. Got shocked twice. Still trying. This is what survival looks like now. It's not about conquest. It's about invention, ingenuity, endurance, and kindness when it doesn't make sense anymore. A man called in from somewhere near Flagstaff. Said his name was Ray. He hadn't spoken to another person in 11 days. He broke down mid-sentence. Just went quiet. You could hear the sob in his chest before the radio cut out. He didn't ask for help. Didn't even say what he needed. He just wanted someone to know he existed. So Ray, if you're still out there, I heard you. And you're not alone. Not while this signal breathes. Not while the wires hold. I've been chewing dried beans. No salt. No softness. But they keep the fire in my chest from going out. I'm down to 1 pouch of clean water. I keep it wrapped in cloth under the floor tile, away from the heat. I look at it more than I drink from it. Because looking reminds me there's still something worth guarding. I'll be back tomorrow, if my legs hold up. If the crank doesn't snap. If the silence doesn't get louder than I am. Same signal, same beat. 3 short, 1 long. I don't have all the answers. I barely have questions anymore. But I have breath. And I have this voice. And that's enough. Say your name tonight. Even if you whisper it. Even if no one's around to hear it but the dark. Say it like it matters, because it does. It's 8:04 p.m. The sky's the color of smoke now. That deep, dull gray you see in old ash or rotted cloth. No stars, no clouds. Just one long, smudged ceiling stretched above us like someone painted over the whole damn world and forgot to leave the holes in. I sat on the roof for a while tonight. Didn't bring the mic. Just sat. Just listened. There used to be wind. Even after the flare for the first few days, there was still a breeze that came through every night around this time, right before the horizon went black and the crickets came out. But it's gone now. The trees don't even move anymore. Not even a whisper in the branches. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something we haven't named yet. And I think I'm starting to understand why people are afraid of silence. Because once the machines are dead, and the traffic's gone, and the voices are off the air, there's nothing left but whatever's under your skin. And sometimes that's the loudest thing of all. I haven't had a voice reply in over 24 hours. Not a ping, not a hum, nothing. I've been cycling the crank every hour on the hour just to check. Burned out another fuse in the process. Replaced it with a bent nail and a piece of copper from an old speaker coil. Not safe, not smart. But what is anymore? I'll keep trying. I heard something in the pipes last night. I thought it was just pressure. Maybe condensation. But then it tapped. 3 knocks. Then 2. Then 1. Then silence. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just sat there with the mic off and the light dimmed, trying to tell myself it was just metal cooling. But it didn't feel like cooling. It felt like intention, like a question waiting for an answer. I didn't answer. Not then. Not yet. I want to give you some names tonight, not just to keep the habit, but because every time I say them, it reminds me that this frequency is more than just a dying wire. It's a place, a thread between people, a reminder that we lived. Nolan, outskirts of St. Paul, built a sundial from rebar and bike gears, uses it to track the slant of the day, says the shadow moves slower now. Not sure if it's the sun or just his eyes, but he keeps marking it anyway. Haya, down near Fresno, teaching herself to tan leather from old furniture scraps, made shoes for the local kids so they don't burn their feet running from shelter to shelter. Omar, edge of what used to be Brooklyn, found an old film camera, taking photos of the ruins. Says he's documenting what silence leaves behind. That one stuck with me, because that's what this is, isn't it? Not just a collapse, not just heat and noise and dead systems. It's what silence leaves behind. The spaces, the gaps, the holes in the stories we won't get to finish. I keep thinking about the first message I got after the blackout. A man from Utah said his name was Ellis. He'd rigged a transmitter to his pickup battery and had just enough juice to send one line. It was this: we were always one broken wire away from the truth. I think about that all the time now, because it's not the explosion that ends a world. It's the flicker before it. The second the light fails, the half step between signal and silence. That's where we are now. Not dead, not saved, just flickering. If you're still out there, if you're listening, don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for the power to come back or the maps to update or the officials to say it's safe. Find your breath. Find your rhythm. Find one thing to care for and hold it like it's the last ember on earth. And say your name. Say it when you wake up. Say it when the silence creeps in. Say it when you think no one's listening, because I might be. Even if I can't reply, I might be here, on the other end, holding this mic like a lifeline, hearing the echo of you in the dark. That's how we keep going. That's how we survive this. One breath, one voice, one thread of sound through the nothing. I'll be back tomorrow. Or I'll try. The panel's dying, the crank's seizing. My hands are blistered. But I'm still here. 3 short, 1 long. Same pulse, same signal. Say your name. Say it like it matters, because it does.